today. I get to luckily introduce our guest speaker. This year, the Jamboree Committee selected Miss Kailey Jo Erickson. Kailey Jo comes from Tanana. Her parents are Cynthia and Dale Erickson. She was an employee here back at the dorms last year with the GILA program. She worked 1 year there. She now resides in Fairbanks doing the TCC prevention program with them. She was out here this week doing that. Kailey Jo has an extensive background working with students and youth in Alaska and out of state also. We're really super excited to have her back this weekend. She was working with some students. So at this time, I kind of want to ask if all the kids can kind of sit down for a little bit. Kailey is going to give her speech. The Jamboree started many years ago. The tradition of that was to support a healthy and sobriety living lifestyle, and that's something we wanted to incorporate and we would like to incorporate. We believe that Kailey has the great values to share that with you and to share the message with you on that. So with that said, if you want to come up, Miss Kailey Jo Erickson, and address the Jamboree. Thank you, Kailey.
Taller than Shirley. I'm a little nervous. It's easier for me to get in front of crowds of like hundreds of people who I don't even know, but like here I know everyone, so if I cry, I'm sorry, I'm emotional. I was honored to be, hello, testing, can you hear me? Yeah? Good? Better? Okay. When Kim and Shirley and them had asked me to come speak, I was really excited because I left Galena. Galena was kind of my introduction back to Alaska. I had lived out in the States for about 10 years, and coming back to a village from a big city was really hard. My data didn't work. I didn't have internet. I didn't have a car, so walking uptown 3 miles was, oh my gosh, last fall was super rainy, and it was just my reintroduction living back in a village, so I was excited to be here. And like Shirley had said, I was raised in Tanana, and my parents are Cynthia and Dale Erickson, and my grandparents are Harold and Florence Ismalka from Ruby. So coming here was fun because I got lots of family and lots of cousins everywhere, and last fall was my reintroduction back to village life. And not just my data, not just no internet, slow internet, nothing like that, but my first month working at GILA, I was reminded about the hardships in our villages and how concentrated it was. And it kind of threw me into this moment, a little funk, because I had lived down in the States. I worked in treatment with a lot of different kids from across the nation, and although I worked with tough situations and situations that was based on trauma and addiction, the rate and the concentrated rate in the villages is so much more accelerated than in a big city. And so last year I was able to work with the kids here, and we have an awesome dance group that's going to come perform that are also professional speakers themselves on speaking on trauma and the hardships of attempting sober lifestyles and happy, healthy lifestyles. But what got me on my path for my career and for everything that I did was growing up in a village. Any of you guys who know my mom, Cynthia, she's a wild woman, crazy woman who does awesome things. She's a tough woman. But her and my father taught us how to be able to be there to be helpful for anyone who is in need. I came from a good home. It often was a home that was a safe haven for other kids who came from homes that were a little more broken, who struggled with substance abuse. And domestic violence, and so I came from a good home that taught me how to be there for others and how to make sure that others were taken care of. And so that being in a village and being that the concept of it takes a village to raise a child was really what got me into working in prevention and with healthy lifestyle skills. And at a young age, I had decided that I didn't want to drink, and I didn't want to partake of any drugs or anything. And it wasn't, the reasoning behind it wasn't because I was better than anyone or anything. It was just that alcohol had taken people from me. It offended me. It stole people from me. And I had a fear growing up about losing control over myself, because I watched so many people lose control. And I lost them because of that. So I had made a pact with myself as a young teenage girl that I wasn't ever going to drink, and not that I couldn't do it socially or in a good manner, but because it hurt me and it offended me. And so that's kind of what got me into the work that I did with the kids at the last 10 years that I worked with prevention. And I worked hand in hand with clinical staff, therapists and whatnot to teach kids how to use their voices and to give them permission that it's okay to be mad, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to talk about the things that have happened in their lives. And so I worked hand in hand with therapists just to teach kids to be able to be okay with themselves, with everything that's going on in their life, whether it's problems at home, problems in school. It's okay to just deal with it. And so coming here last year was a treat and a blessing to me. I got so many kids that I was able to meet and have them help me understand different culture than Alaska a little bit better. But that was when coming here was able to help me get my feet back on the ground in Alaska and to help reestablish the needs and my wants to help my communities in Alaska with sobriety and with healthy lifestyle skills and healthy activities. And I was just talking last week with Julie Roberts. She's from Tanana. Grandma Josephine is here at the Elder Center, but her son and I grew up together, and he's a sober as well. And we were kind of just two kids growing up that we didn't drink or anything. And we talked last week about that even as an adult, the same struggles come as being sober. There's a barrier. If you don't drink when you're in high school, people think you're boring. If you don't drink and you don't want to try new things, you're just, you get those peer pressures of why you're not doing it. And people assume and they judge. And so Julie and I were talking last week about, as an adult still in a community, you're still faced with those same peer pressures as you did when you were 15, 16 years old, that creates a barrier that people think because you don't drink, because you don't do drugs, or you want to have a healthy life and you want to have a healthy home or healthy children, that it creates that barrier. And sometimes it's hard to cross that. And so we just discussed last week how it's still a struggle as an adult to be sober in our lives when it's so prevalent around us. And I came from good people, good villages. Galena has always been one of my favorites. I was telling the girls last year, Tanana came and did basketball here, and I was driving the girls here for the game, and a bunch of the girls were like, "Oh my gosh, the Tanana boys are so cute." They were talking about which boys in Tanana were like their favorite boys, and they thought they were so cute. And I was like, "Stop it. No, because growing up in Tanana, so then I explained to them that growing up in Tanana, it was the Galena boys that were the cute boys. And so we were discussing how even, 15 years ago, you were always excited about other villages to come because for some reason the boys from other villages and girls from other villages were cuter. But I was excited to come here to Galena and be a part of this community, and the Jamboree has such an amazing foundation for healthy activity, and the women who are in charge of it, like Shirley, I don't know if she rests, I don't know if she sleeps. I just walked over to her house before the Jamboree and she just hit the ground running. The plane was late and she was just, and Kim Wolf and everyone who's involved with the Kaufmans, everyone just, they're always busy and they make such a good, they do such a good job here in Galena to create a foundation for healthy activities in communities. And so I was excited to be a part of it last year, be a part of it here as a resident and as an employee with the school, but to also see that 30 years has gone by and they're still promoting sober activities. And yeah, so I'm excited to be here, and my new job, I'm with TCC, and like Shirley had said, I'm with their Wellness and Prevention Department, and so it's an opportunity for me to work with our communities here in Interior Alaska and to make sure that things like the Jamboree can be established in other sub-regions within Tanana Chiefs Conference, because these kind of activities are things we should be mirroring across our state. And so thank you guys for coming and listening, and I hope I didn't babble. I get really nervous and I cry and then I just get myself anxious and then I don't even know what to talk about. But I have a lot of my kids here, and a lot of my kids have heard me talk a lot about healthy skills and the importance of it. And so I made a pact as a high schooler that I would live a healthy life so that I could just be there as a safe haven for others when they needed it and help when they needed. So again, thank you guys for coming, and I'm excited. I had a couple kids, I was telling them Mark Brown's gonna be here, and a bunch of them who are from West Coast Alaska were like, who's Mark Brown? So they have to stay to listen to Mark Brown because I'm all excited. I haven't been to a Mark Brown dance in years. So again, thank you, and yeah, so I don't know who I'm giving it to now.
Yeah, stay there.
Oh, stay here. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Kailey. We truly are inspired by Kailey, her everyday life, and choosing to live a sober life is not easy growing up in a community where you see it ravishing a lot of young people. So we really commend Kailey for that and the influence she has on all the young people in Interior Alaska. They did take her out of Galena, but now she's doing a bigger job with the whole interior with TCC. On behalf of the Jamboree Committee, I don't know why we picked black and red. She grew up in Tanana. So here's some beautiful earrings and a beautiful necklace, and that was made by Miss Mo Whiteman back there, thank you. And also, just in case you missed us a little bit, you can support this. Thank you, Kailey, very much.